Good evening and welcome.
Yeah.
It's the Premier League review show. Can you hear
There's
me now?
no audio, Tony.
Okay, you may need to come out and in. I'll do the same. So we are live. Just waiting for Drew to come back in as he's gone out. Hope everybody is well, and we will be reviewing week 10 of the Premier League. Literally just finished the first match of this new week, week 11. Tottenham securing a 2-1 away win at Selhurst Park. Here he comes. How about that?
There is no audio.
Yay! I knew it would work.
It's all about the minor victories, man. All about the minor victories.
It is indeed. So yeah, I was just remarking we've just had the first game of the weekend just finished, which has resulted in a 2-1 away win for Tottenham away to Crystal Palace. But before we go in, let's do the pleasantries. How you been, Drew? It's been a while.
I'm not going to lie. I've been good, man. I've been exhausted. I've started a new job, which has meant getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to make sure I take my dog out for a walk before I then take an hour-long bus journey to go to the office every day.
Wow.
And getting home at about 6 o'clock at night. But this week, I've been working from home, so it's all good. Got energy.
Excellent.
Podcast time.
Excellent. And we are pleased to have you on. Hopefully, we might get joined by a few others. I'm just going to get to messaging a few of them now to see if there's a...
There's going to be a very smug Andy knocking about because Spurs have now extended their lead.
He's literally just posted the table into the group.
We won't see this after Christmas. As soon as your boys overtake him, we're not going to hear from him for a while.
Absolutely. So if you are about Andy, get yourself on and let's hear about that result. But before we go there, we want to have a little review of last week's action. It's been actually a couple of weeks since we've had a show. I think, did you have a show with Apollo last week?
No, I was stuck up north. I didn't get a chance to get on last week.
In fact, I know because I was supposed to host last week. Then lastminute.com, something came up, which meant that there was no show. So we've not had a show for a couple of weeks.
Because Apollo was off enjoying Luther Vandross, wasn't he?
He's always out there.
He is the busiest man that I think I've ever known in my life. So
yeah, and I don't know how he does it because he watches like every TV show that ever comes on TV. He's watching the NFL, he's watching the NBA, he's watching football. So I don't know how he gets the time. I mean, he does his TV and movie reviews online as well on that channel.
I mean, yeah, no, there ain't enough time in a day to do the amount of stuff that Apollo actually does do. So, cloning. He has clearly got a clone.
Good shout.
No, you got to worry. There's two of them running around Watford area now. So.
Yeah. But yeah, let's hope Neil and Andy can come on and join us at some point. So I'm loading up a bit of imagery on for the chat. While I do that, talk to me. Tell me about what you see so far of the season, and that's for your own club, other clubs, issues, things that, like VAR, like Tonali. Talk to me while I'm doing this
Right.
about what you've seen so far.
So I'm going to start on the Tonali thing. Because as a Manchester City fan, I think I get the right to bash teams and their financial naiveties, so to speak. Now, there's been some coming out in the papers today that Newcastle might be seeking damages for the transfer. They might be seeking money back from AC Milan. I do not know what leg Newcastle would have to stand on, because the same as when you buy a property or you buy into any investment, you do due diligence. Now, the case that was built against Tonali did not come up in the space of the 4 months since Newcastle signed him. So I think this is more a buyer beware situation. Screw you, Newcastle, quite frankly. You've screwed for pooch by buying a player who was under a criminal investigation. So that's on them. The one thing I am a little bit shocked by, though, is the apparent leniency of his suspension, considering he was betting on his own team. Now, he's got a shorter suspension than what Ivan Toney got, who never bet on his own team. So, I'm a little bit baffled as to whether the punishment fits really with Tonali, because he was betting on his own team to win games, penalties in his own games, for his team to lose certain games. Is 8 months really a justifiable period of time for him to be suspended for? I actually don't think it is, considering I think his offences, whilst not as numerous as Ivan Toney's, they're definitely actually more severe because he had direct involvement in some of those results. So I'm going to take moral high ground, which as a City supporter is difficult to do a lot of the time. But I think he's got away very lightly and is a lucky boy to still have a career at the end of that investigation. The season so far, I'm not enjoying it. We've lost 2 games before Christmas, which I'm still pretty confident that City will win the league this season. I'm not happy with being second, though, considering I predicted that Spurs would struggle to get a top 6 finish. Yet Spurs actually look pretty damn good, and that's quite upsetting for me. Although a few injuries, and it could be curtains. They do not have a deep squad. Arsenal have not looked as good this season as what I thought they were going to look with Declan Rice. Don't worry, Tony. I'm not blaming Declan Rice for anything that has gone wrong in Arsenal season so far. I do feel that Mikel Arteta has been doing his best impression of Claudio Ranieri, though, and has been tinkering with your tactics and formation too much, too often, which has been a slight disappointment. The one great solace for City supporters is the horrific form of our next door neighbours. They are a sheer delight right about now. And when I saw all of our predictions, I saw that not one person has given United a chance of even claiming a point this weekend. Well, I haven't seen Apollo's yet, actually. So Apollo might give them a chance. But the eye test so far says that City they're winning Sunday. So I'm going to do that prediction before we even get to that stage of the show, because everyone thinks it. I was talking to a United supporter at work yesterday. He doesn't want the game to be played. He's looking for some kind of natural disaster in Manchester to cause something to happen. I think that says it all.
Keep going.
I've got to think of other things to talk about now. Liverpool's up and down form has been surprising.
VAR for at least in that half hour.
Oh, no. Can I swear? What the actual fuck is going on? tail end of last season, I thought that we were starting to get VAR sorted out. I thought we were starting to see some kind of consistency in the decisions that VAR was coming to. This season, it appears that VAR is back in the infancy stage in those first few months where we've introduced it to the game. The decisions are getting more inconsistent. On-field refereeing is becoming more erratic. Just because VAR asks you to take a look at something, it does not mean that you have to come across and give it. Now, City have benefited twice, I think, so far from 50-50 VAR calls. If there's not enough evidence for VAR to say comprehensively, oh, you need to overturn this, don't overturn it. Stick with your on-field decision, because it is then not a case of clear. So, I've been a big supporter of VAR. I genuinely have. But it is making more and more mistakes, and it is actually now bleeding over and starting to ruin pretty much every game of the season. Even games that it could inject a little bit of entertainment into, mentioning no names, but every Everton game so far this season, is actually killing off those games that could actually benefit from a little bit of drama. The drama of the VAR is now becoming the spectacle of the match. And it isn't cool. It isn't good for the game. It's pulling us into, I mean, people who watch the show often, they know that I love American sport. But, and this has always been my thing, it takes us about 3.5, 4 hours for a 60-minute game in the NFL because of all the stop-start nature. The reason it can work with the NFL is because it was already a stop-start sport. We have gaps in between every play. We have a play clock to make sure that play goes at a certain rate. But there were always stoppages in the play. There were always breaks. That's why they can get away with video officiating to such a high level. The beauty of football has always been it is a fast-paced game. The ball is in play. Teams go back and forth. We're losing that entirely because VAR is getting more complicated. It's getting less clear on the decisions it's making. We're now in a position where, I mean, we're looking 100 minutes a game, and that's kind of a minimum now. You might get 6 minutes of time added at the end of the first half, then another 8-9 minutes at the end of the second half because of substitutions and VAR decisions. Yet the ball's actually only really in play for about 60% of the game. If we're going to have this stop-start nature, can we think of a better way of doing it, or can we just eradicate VAR because it is now becoming the spectacle at the ground and it's not benefiting the game at all like we thought it was going to when it was first introduced? And I don't think we've got to the point where we couldn't take VAR away. I'm not saying we should take VAR away, but we should be introducing some kind of refereeing system where VAR reviews it. VAR is the final decision. Or, I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to find an agreement on this. I think the only people that are really like chirping about VAR being a good thing still are Liverpool fans because it does seem to benefit them more than anyone else at the moment. So, but it's an absolute toxic addition to the game right about now. So I was even watching Championship football. It's ruining the Championship as well. We've got to put, it's now the punchline of the joke, and it's a very unfunny joke. So I know when Andy gets in, I'm pretty sure he might well agree with this as well. And I've been at loggerheads with him before about VAR's use in football, and we're now at the point where I'm actually going to agree with him. So it's a sad day for us all, quite honestly. Don't worry, I'm not going to agree with Neil though. That's okay. I won't be agreeing with Neil because he gets more het up about it, and that makes me laugh. So we. It's like those DJ noises from when I was young.
Excellent. Right. So I think I've done it all.
There's no reverb.
There's no reverb. Yeah. So yeah, good stuff, Drew. I mean, the VAR. You're absolutely right. It's just comical.
It's a topic that I don't like to talk too much about the VAR a lot of the time, because I've always respected referees for the hard parts of the job that they have to do. I now think that VAR is making an on-field referee's life even more difficult, because we all give stick to the VAR officials, but who's the guy at the ground who gets the first reaction? And it makes it even worse when we get Howard Webb, who, quite honestly, I think Howard Webb is a tool. When he comes out on a Monday night on Sky Sports News and says, well, this is what the actual decision should have been. Look, right, back your referees, back your VAR. Don't come out on TV and explain why the decision's wrong. Explain why a decision's been given only. Just stop throwing people under the bus, Howard Webb, because you either support the technology that you're backing or you don't. So just be very clear on it.
Okay, Neil's away in Sheffield at a karate competition for his son, so it's just the two of us, it looks, unless Andy comes and joins us. So, yeah, I mean, what can we say? I mean, the viewing is really spoiled when, you know, we all have a little referee in us, which sees what we would consider to be common sense decision making. A ball flies at your hand at a very fast speed from a distance of less than six yards.
Yeah,
you generally don't have a chance.
No,
you haven't got a chance. So, you know, that's clearly something that they're getting wrong on a regular basis. That somewhere along the line, somebody needs to go, hang on a second, there's just not common sense in that decision making process.
The one thing I would say with VAR right about now is, so at an international level, VAR is handled in one way. At European club competition level, it's handled in a different way. Then at domestic level, there's another set of parameters that we look at. We've got no uniformity about it. So the implementation is coming out different at every level and every stage of the game. What are the players meant to be doing to get this right?
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know if at some point in time, the managers are going to have to, because, you know, managers are silencing themselves from complaining because they know they can get themselves in trouble. You know, Mikel Arteta has basically said, I'm not saying anything because if I say something about how I feel about it, I'm going to be in trouble. So the managers are silencing themselves, but at some point in time, they're going to need to come out and say, hang on a second, this just can't carry on. And, you know, the fact that we're seeing decisions being shown and reviewed the next day, and VAR themselves are having to say, we're getting it wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so I just feel there has to come a point where they have to turn around and go, you know, it's just not good enough. You know, we're getting paid a shed load of money. We've invested umpteen million into this technology. It's supposed to help, not to hinder.
The thing is, I don't think it'd be so bad if we were progressing continually forward, even at a snail's pace. I think it'd be a lot easier to stomach if the decisions were getting better. But I genuinely think we're seeing worse VAR decisions now than what we saw 2.5 years ago when we introduced the technology.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. It does appear to be getting worse.
It's nonsensical. I mean, normally when you get a new technology, you get better at using it. How have we managed to get it worse?
Yeah, agreed. So let's have a little review of some of the games that we've missed over the last couple of weeks. Let me pull up some of the fixtures.
We have had an international break in that as well.
We did, yeah. So
luckily, it's not Man City losing for a couple of weeks.
So hopefully, we start where Saturday the 7th of October, where we had Luton 0, Tottenham 1. Chelsea seem to have found some form at this stage. They won 4-1 away to Burnley. Everton also came into a bit of form, won 3-0 at Bournemouth. Now, we also need to talk about the Everton situation. Obviously, Man City have got too many charges to be up for a points deduction, but Everton are definitely in with a big shout of having a points deduction immediately.
I think there's a major difference here, though, with Everton and Man City.
Go ahead.
The big difference is Everton have no immediate way of recouping losses. Man City, with any of the rule breaches that they may be guilty of, which we don't know yet what they're guilty of and what they're not guilty of, because they're not going to be guilty of every one of them. There will be some that they are guilty of, and I'll admit that as a City supporter. The fact is, though, City came around at the start of FFP. Mm-hmm. We got brought when it first started being phased in.
Yeah.
Everton have had 13 years to get used to these rules. But more to the point, where are they expecting to cover these losses? Coming off the back of COVID, how do you think that ploughing 350 million in when you're not recouping 100 million a season, how do you think you're going to cover those losses? It's not going to work.
Yeah.
They got a rich owner, but they spent more than what Newcastle, with an incredibly rich owner, spent in the same period. Which it's like, I don't want to say throw the book at them, because obviously it'd be rich of me as a City supporter to say that. But before City made their big losses, FFP wasn't being, well, when City made their first big losses, FFP wasn't being enforced. The next set of losses, we were starting to bring more money in through sponsorships. We were starting to bring more money in through player sales and through winnings. Everton don't have the sponsorships. They don't have the attendances. They don't have any competitive trophies that they're going for to claim prize money. Yet they've spaffed 300 plus million with no chance of recouping it, which it is a kind. It does kind of serve them right if they get a points deduction for it. But it is. But even I acknowledge that it is a little bit rich in me saying it as a City supporter. Because let's be honest, I know that we're going to be guilty of breaking some rules, but there's common sense and there's stupidity. And City have taken a calculated risk in some of theirs. Everton have shown blatant stupidity in the losses that they've made, because they could play for another 10 years and they're not going to recoup that money.
Yeah, so they're in deep doo-doo, as you say, as you know. Essentially, they could be relegated at the end of this season if the points differential is not able for them to catch up on. Because 12.
I'm pretty sure we all said they're going down anyway, so we could be right regardless.
Well, they've had a little bit of form. There are teams worse than them, but 12 points. Would they be 12 points better than the three bottom teams? I doubt it very much.
I mean, I'll be honest, though, the Bournemouth game last weekend, Bournemouth could, if Bournemouth had a striker and not Solanke up front, because I know Solanke's a centre forward, he's registered as a striker, but he is one of those strikers that just cannot score goals. So if Bournemouth had someone who was an actual natural finisher up front, I think Bournemouth would have been a bigger threat. So
yeah, I mean, I personally I'm not a great lover of Everton anyway. So if they were to get relegated, I would be quite happy.
I mean, out of the two Scouse clubs, they're the one I like slightly more, but it is slightly more. It is like asking that question. You got two blokes next to your wife. Which one do you want to have an affair with her? It's like it's like I'll happily see both implode spectacularly. So,
oh dear, no. I mean, I've got a personal reason why I hate Liverpool, Everton more than Liverpool, despite the fact that I've had my run-ins with more than enough Liverpool fans in my lifetime, and I absolutely detest them as a club because of some of those run-ins and their fan base. Notwithstanding Neil, because he's a good friend of mine for over 40 years. There were reasons that I used to go to Everton as a kid or as a young adult. And my experience there was horrible. Not to say I haven't had horrible experiences at other football clubs, but Everton was just a standout for me. And as a result of that, I kind of think that I've been traumatized enough with the bad side of football. But Everton was one of them places that really turned my stomach back in the 80s. But yeah, let's move on. So where were we looking at? We were looking at Everton at 1-3-0 against Bournemouth. This is going back to the 7th of October. Fulham 3-1 over Sheffield United. Pretty much expected. Sheffield United seem to be the whipping boys and favourites to go down right now.
At the moment, Sheffield United the only team making Burnley look half decent. So
yeah,
I'm not too unhappy.
Yeah. Man United 2, Brentford 1. I think if I remember rightly, some shenanigans in that game.
There were. It was also Højlund's first league goal.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't the stunning masterpiece that United fans would tell you, but it was above average.
Okay. Let's go back to. Then we had Crystal Palace 0, Nottingham Forest 0. So then on to the Sunday, the 8th, we had Brighton 2, Liverpool 2, which is a very exciting game. Brighton, they're kind of up and down at the moment, aren't they, Brighton?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. It was VAR giving Liverpool a victory. Brighton were the better team for 65, 70 minutes of that game. So I'm still a little bit sore for Brighton after that game, to be honest. But you take what the referee gives you at the end of the day. Obviously, the rest of these results are quite meaningless, especially the bottom one. To watch it with Arsenal fans, it was difficult.
You must have been wondering why I decided to pull the results back from so far back. I mean, seeing as we haven't had a chance to discuss it, then it makes sense that we have a talk about that bottom result. So West Ham 2, Newcastle 2. That was a good result for West Ham, which was against a rampaging Newcastle team who've been scoring.
I'll be honest, it was a great performance as well, actually. Mikel Antonio, it was the best I've seen him in about 8-9 months. He played the perfect number 9 game. Held the ball up, made every run possible. West Ham had a couple chances to nick it, But it was a good game of football.
Yeah.
And one of the last times that we're going to see Sandro Tonali for about a year.
Then we had Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1, and again a decent game of football between a rampaging Aston Villa and a Wolves team who suddenly, after last season being literally relegation fodder, look like they've learned the art of how not to lose games.
Well, Gary O'Neill seems to have gone in there and he's made them look solid. They've got a solid spine all of a sudden, which last year they looked like absolute jelly every time anyone ran at them. This year they seem to be defending better. To be honest, I think Villa would have won that game if Leon Bailey was in the form that he's now come into. Because this fully fit version of Leon Bailey that we never saw last year, he's a bit of a player. He is dangerous. And him and Ollie Watkins, with Yuri Tillemans in midfield as well, they've got a very, very good attacking formation set up now.
Yeah, for sure. And that leads us on to the last game of that day was a small matter of Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0.
Right, I'm going to put it out there. We were both shit, but we were slightly shitter in the second half. I've never.
I think it was more of a game of chess than two teams that were playing poorly, because I do believe that it was very much a case of we negated the good things that you could possibly have brought to the table, and you did exactly the same to us. So every danger area you seem to negate, it, and we also did the same to you.
The one big thing I would say though, I think Rico Lewis, by the way, I'm not going to criticise him. I think he played really well in that holding midfield position.
Good player.
I would say he was our best player on the pitch for most of that game.
And to be honest, he went on that week, and I watched him in the England under-21s. They won 9-0 against one team, and I can't remember who it was. But he was outstanding in that England game.
He is a special young player.
Yeah.
But I just feel if we had Rodri, I don't think we'd have lost. I'm not going to say we'd have won it because, quite honestly, I don't think we deserve to win that game.
Yeah.
But I think that game should have been a point each.
Well, what that game did show for me was the solidity of the Arsenal back four with Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes absolutely putting a shutout on.
But would they? But
a very good team.
And here's the thing, though: if you take Alvarez out and you put De Bruyne into that number 10 role, is it a different game?
It's like
we've effectively lost our two best players.
I think we've seen a blueprint on dealing with Erling Haaland because, yes, I'd agree with you. He didn't get the type of service we'd expect him to get. But what we did see was, he had opportunities to try and run out or get in amongst the Arsenal back two and just didn't succeed in any of his attempts.
I mean, what I would say, though, is if you watch City midweek in the Champions League, they were having the exact same successes against Erling Haaland until they got tired. So I think about... I'm not going to say it's all down to the service because I have a lot of love and a lot of respect for Saliba. I think he is a different breed. But I think if the service comes in from De Bruyne, he's a lot more dangerous. When it's coming in from Alvarez, and this is the thing, Alvarez is a great footballer. He really is, and he's a great striker. He's not a number 10, though. He's not the guy you want threading the passes through.
Yeah, I get it. But, I mean, hey, we'll take the opportunity to score a significant win when we can get one.
But we're still above you.
Yeah. I mean, it's what? Goal difference?
Look, the important thing is we're both below Spurs, and that's just not cool at this stage of the season.
Interesting you should mention that because 18 is on the chat as the question. Question: are you both taking Spurs seriously now after tonight's win?
Not after tonight's win. Spurs have to go because obviously Spurs got a good result against Arsenal.
Mm.
Spurs need to go to City.
We did gift them 2 goals, though. Let's be honest.
Was one even a goal? That's the. Obviously, if Andy's on, he would say something completely different to our take on it. But Spurs need to get results against everyone else in the top 4. They need to get a result against City, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Andy will always tell us about how good a record Spurs have against City. That record against City is generally predicated on the strength of Harry Kane being so fearsome. If I'm Ruben Dias, if I'm Manuel Akanji, if I'm John Stones, am I as scared of Brennan Johnson as what I would have been of Harry Kane? And absolutely not. So if Spurs can have the same performance against City this year as what they had the last couple of years, I will applaud them and say, do you know what, they're serious. But I don't think they can.
Well, just as we say, we're talking about the mighty Spurs, and here he is, as if by magic. Your ears must have been burning, fella.
They must have been, mate. They must have been.
Always when we go to Spurs, you literally appear. It's like a Candyman moment.
So I'm just having a bit of trouble sorting my phone out. Hang on.
Well, your sound's okay. You just need a...
Yeah, okay. We're good. Sorry.
Excellent. So how you been, Andy?
Yeah, good.
Are you aware, Andy? I actually just said Richarlison 3 times and then you popped up.
Yeah, no. Well, he's going to be someone I think for all the effort he puts in, and he does work extremely hard. His quality's just not there in front of goal, and that is a big problem. Because you want to like him because he tries so hard and he puts so much effort in, but the quality's just not there. But I don't know.
Do you actually want to like him? Because he reminds me of Craig Bellamy on a bad day.
He irritates me sometimes with doing silly things. But yeah, I mean, the effort what you want from your players to your team is that they put the effort in for the badge, and he does. So I kind of want him, but I want him to do well. But I just think that I don't know. There's too many times when he could score and he doesn't, and I've always had my doubts, but I've wanted to give him a chance. But he's had quite a lot of chances now, and he's still not really firing. So, but yeah,
cool. So we've got Bertram in New York is piped up. How you doing, Bertram? Hope you're well. Because we're
hi, Bertram.
Heads down. If you fancy jumping on it, Bertram, I'll put the link in the chat for yourself. So Andy, we're trying to just get over, or just trying to review the last few weeks. Obviously, we've had an international break in that period, and we started talking about pretty much just what's going on in the world of football. We've had a little chat about Tonali. We've had a chat about VAR. Give us your views on things, in the last 2 to 3 weeks since we've been together.
Well, obviously, first and foremost, from my point of view, has been our excellent form. I mean, we haven't, to be honest, I don't think last 2 or 3 games we've been that scintillating, but we've been getting the job done, and that's what good teams do. But we're top of most of the stats. If you look at most of the stats for the league so far, we're top in a lot of them. Certainly all the running stats and various other things. Vicario's top of the goalkeeping stats. When you think of how many new players we've got, Van der Ven, Vicario, Udogie, done really, really well. other things. I mean, the Tonali thing. If I'm Newcastle, I've got to be investigating whether how much Milan knew about his potential betting scandal, because I'd be after them for that, because you're not telling me they didn't know that this was a possibility. They must have done, and obviously Newcastle didn't. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put the money. They wouldn't have put the money in. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But I imagine Newcastle are doing some digging as we speak. What else? You've obviously had the England. England did really well in the internationals against Italy. Bellingham's just looking outstanding for Real Madrid as well as England. Yeah, I mean it's been an interesting period. I think other teams are doing okay. City have obviously lost a couple. Got back to winning ways last week.
Still second. Sorry? We're still second. It's all good.
That's what I mean. That's my point.
Last season, we were third this stage last year.
But that was exactly my point, Drew. My point is that I expect you to win the Manchester Derby on Sunday. You'll still be second, 2 points behind us, with 28 games to go. I mean, you're still the favourites to win the title in my book. But it's nice to be there for a little while. I mean, I don't think we'll be there at the end, but it's the more we keep winning, the better chance we've got of getting ourselves back in the Champions League, which has got to be the ultimate aim this season.
Sure, because of your humility, Andy, I feel bad now for taking a piss out of space.
Mate, it's water off a duck's back, mate. We're used to it. We don't care.
That's right. I'll start on Liverpool because I know Neil can't join in.
Yeah, so we've also had quite a lot of things go wrong in football with VAR. So we before you arrived, we had a little talk about that and the absolute travesties.
We got robbed of a clean sheet tonight by VAR. I don't know if you saw Palace's 94th minute goal, but Ayew takes the ball down with his arm, but it's very close to his chest, and VAR looked at it for literally 4 minutes. I mean, it was nonsense. And in the end, they let the goal stand. And personally, it was such a great strike on the volley that, to be honest, I don't begrudge him that. I'd let him have that goal, because it kind of caught at the side of his chest and then rolled down his arm a little bit. But, at the end of the day, I don't want to see goals disallowed, not spectacular goals like that either. So, but yeah, I don't think Vicario or any of the Spurs players are very happy at losing their clean sheet. But at the end of the day, we got over the line. They very near equalised at the end, and that would have been a travesty. But anyway, we got the result. But yeah, no, there've been a lot of other very strange VAR decisions. I don't like the handball rules; they're just nonsense. There've been a few. Did you have any particular ones in mind?
No, just in general, because I think a lot of teams have suffered. Forgive my echo.
Yeah, a lot of teams have suffered, but Liverpool have heavily benefited 3 times this season from VAR.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been waiting for Jurgen Klopp to call for a replay for Brighton because of the penalty that Brighton didn't get against Liverpool. It's funny how the laws don't apply when it goes for Liverpool, but he wants to jump up and down when they go against Liverpool. It's not very consistent, shall we say?
Cool. Okay, and just generally, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up in terms? I mean, I know you're one to always talk about or at least mention when we've lost our nearest and dearest in the game of football. We obviously lost Bobby Charlton very recently. So
Bill Kenwright too this weekend.
Yeah. So look, we have to do what we always do and salute those players that have been fabric of the sport that we love. So
Bobby Charlton in particular, absolute legend English football, but he was a legend all over the world. I mean, you go anywhere in the world, and they all know Sir Bobby Charlton. Arguably, it's arguable. Different people might say different, but he's certainly arguably the greatest English footballer of all time. So it's I mean, until Rooney broke his record, and now Kane, he was for 50 years England's greatest goal scorer from pretty much midfield. He wasn't a striker.
Yeah.
I mean, he played an attacking midfield role, but he wasn't really a striker. So, over 100 appearances, and he won the World Cup. And there's very few English players can say that they've done that. So, I mean, he was a legend of the game. But he was a great gentleman as well. He was revered throughout. Nobody had a bad word to say about him. So, I mean, salute to Sir Bob. But also people like Bill Kenwright done a lot for Everton Football Club, and in other things as well. So I mean, we've lost a few big names in the game. So
cool.
Wishing them and their families well.
All right, so we have reviewed Saturday the 7th. We reviewed Sunday the 8th. What next? Saturday the 21st of October. So this was the weekend after the international break. So we'll just skim through that again very quickly. Liverpool 2, Everton 0 in the Merseyside derby.
Liverpool benefited big time there with that, with some calls.
It's not very often that a team can lose 2-0 and you say they were robbed. But
I don't know about robbed. I mean, Liverpool were the better team. But,
they were. But Everton, I think Everton actually deserved a point. And
well, I mean, the crucial thing was
the iffy sending off. I think it took any chance Everton had of doing anything positive in that game away from them.
Yeah,
but they were in the ascendancy at that moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, the sending off, I think, is hard. If you look at the two incidents in isolation, you couldn't really argue that both incidents could be yellow cards. But when you look at them as a whole, I don't think those two incidents deserve someone to get a red card. So you can't say the referee was wrong that in each instance Young could have got a yellow card. But when you put it all together, I think that maybe Young could have had one more chance, if you know what I mean, after that.
There could have been some common sense applied to the situation.
Well, but also if you're going to send Ashley Young off, you have to send. Was it Gomez or Konate? Was it Konate?
Konate for the blatant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had to go. I mean, if you're going to send Ashley Young off, you have to send Konate off. So it was showing. Hi, Bertram.
Hello, good night.
I want to know where Bertram is.
He's in his studio, of course.
I am going to be having a YouTube channel, so I'm practicing my studio.
Excellent. I do like that backdrop. Very nice, Bertram.
Thank you.
I genuinely thought you'd gone to the future, and I was kind of like, that's cool. That's cool, man.
See,
I like what you're doing there, Stan. That is what money buys you.
Bertram looks like he's about to present a boxing special. He's just gonna.
No, actually, I've just finished working. I was actually working when I was watching you guys. I said, you know what? I'll put the work away for the time being. Come on, hang on for a little bit.
Thank you for joining us, Bertram. So, we've been away for quite a few weeks, so we're kind of just doing a little catch up of the whole football scene. We've talked about Tonali, we've talked about VAR. We've talked a little bit about Everton and their potential pending points deduction. Just give us a short summary of what you feel of the season so far yourself, Bertram.
It's all about Spurs. It's all about Spurs. I mean, look, we were a surprise team last year. We started off real well, maintained it until we collapsed at the end. Some people say we choked. regardless. But this year, no one expected Spurs to be where they are. And what people normally think is that you're going to fall away. And if they don't have injuries, they're not falling away. They have a very good starting 11. Don't have the best bench, so they have to be careful about the total of the squad. But I thought Basuma was the best playing CDM in the league for the first 6, 7, 8 games. People talk about Rodri, brilliant player. I thought Basuma, who last year couldn't get a game out of Conte, was playing Holberg in front of him, which is amazing looking at them now. So I thought Postecoglou was coming. And you know how this works with football, right? Or in sports. A new manager, everybody wants to impress the manager, new slate, and that's what has happened. Kane left, and they're better without Kane. Don't get me wrong about Kane's ability. Brilliant forward. But they're better without Kane for different reasons, right? Madison, if Kane had Madison with him, it'd be a different story. Didn't have Madison. Probably should have played with Madison one season before he left. But Madison has been the best attacking midfielder in the league to date so far this season. Basuma's been excellent. Son is a renewed life. So you look at their team and you're like, and the defense, they bought the new kid from Holland. We know that the Argentinian can play, even though he creates mayhem for his own team sometimes. So you look at the team and you're like, good team. When they played us, they were good. They had better chance than we did, even though Jorginho decided to gift them the game. But they had better chance than we did. So Spurs is the story to me of the season so far. Part of the story also is Man City, but not in the most positive light, which is we all expect them to be playing free-flowing football. That's not been the case. They've had injuries with De Bruyne. Haaland is hit and miss, even though he's the leading scorer in the league. And Phillips has not stepped up. Doku has been brilliant for me so far, and Grealish is not getting his space back anytime soon. You don't seem to realize that. He's not getting his game back anytime soon.
I've actually got to say something about Doku, because I was thinking about you the other night, Bertram. Don't take that in a weird way. In the Champions League game.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. He is Saint Maximum with a little bit more end product. They are one and the same player.
No, here's the thing with Doku. He's learning to play team football. You watch him play for Belgium or with his club team in France. Guardiola has defined where you play. You play wide, you play on the line, you play the system, you don't play your own game. Like Grealish did the first year, he's learning that. But he's a brilliant, he can mesmerize defenders, frankly, even though he didn't against us for some reason. But I do think he's a very good player, and I think he'll help City going forward. And I don't think Grealish is getting this game back anytime soon, frankly. Yeah. They're similar players, except he's more explosive than Grealish, which is interesting. But I do think
his pace is very handy to have.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I mean, he'll be good. When De Bruyne come back, forget about it. Because De Bruyne is the engine that makes all of. You realize that now that makes City goes, frankly. Because when De Bruyne is playing, things are happening. And on my last point with this in terms of the season, we have not started well. We have not played well. My manager is tinkering too darn much, and it's become a problem. Havertz is a waste of money.
Hang on.
Tony, wait.
I said the exact same thing.
My manager
is a waste of money.
Too much. He went from the man who never tinkered. He played the same players for 90 minutes every game, and then now he's tinkering.
Okay, what do I mean by that, Tony? What do I mean by that? First of all, Havertz is not the fit. I'm sorry. He was slow at Chelsea. It takes too long to play football. Good player, skillful player, keep the ball well, but the Premier League is going, and you're back there daddling, doodling, whatever you're doing. It's not helping us. And we could have bought Mans for £40 million versus spending 65 on him. We could have got even, what's his name, that went to Tielemans. Would be a better option at number 8 than Havertz. For free, by the way. So all you got to pay is his wages. No, I'm telling you the fact. Diaby was there. Kudus was there. And we bought Havertz. And Chelsea can't help smiling. Secondly,
Tielemans isn't in the Villa side.
No, I know he is, but I watched him play the other day. He's still got ability. But Villa is rolling, right? Villa is rolling, and that's why he can't get in the team. I'm not saying we should buy Tielemans. I didn't rate Tielemans. I've said this a lot of time. But I get him for free versus Havertz. Right now, he's better than Havertz as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I digress. And I told Tony we regressed, by the way. Tony told me to shut up, basically. I told Tony we regressed. A while back, when season ended, I said, Tony, you know we regressed, right? And he's like, stop it. And I said, you're not seeing what's happening. I'm seeing. which is Havertz is killing the team. And those who didn't think Xhaka could play football realize Xhaka is a better option than Havertz, frankly. Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus, even though it made look good in the last game, have not hit the ground running like last year. And we played the year before, Andy and Drew, and we scored 50-something goals. Now, we scored 80-something last year, so they've improved, but it may be that they're coming to the level they're supposed to be at, right? It may be that's the case, that they're not 15 goal scorers. They may be 12, 13 goal scorers. And Saka hasn't had a good season, even though his numbers don't say so. Martinelli has been injured. Jesus is injury prone. Partey is injury prone. And Partey is probably about my age, frankly. It's just his birth certificate says 30. He's not 30. And when you're not, he's not 30. Come on, guys. You see how Partey is. Man. He's not 30. He's not. He's about 40. And when you start getting to that age, and you guys play football now, you start pulling muscles, don't you? When do you start pulling muscles? When you reach 37, 38, 39. He's not 30. So anyway, and it's been happening since he joined
I got
us.
to that stage at 18.
No. You can pull muscle at 18, but it's not normalized muscle. I say like Antonio, whose body doesn't really handle those things well. Partey was never injured before he left Atletico Madrid. He was never injured. He came to us, and his age kicked in, and it's all down. And by the way, he's probably our second best player, if not our best player. Second best player after Saliba, as far as I'm concerned. Indo Rice has been brilliant, by the way. So I'll stop there, my little soliloquy, by saying it's about Spurs. And by the way, Drew, if everything gets a 12-point deduction, I think you're going to be in the National League when they're done with you.
That's what he's been saying today, isn't it? That's what Jamie Carragher said, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, but Jamie Carragher's a bitter little shithead, pardon my language.
Drew, let me say this again, Drew. Is every time just breach financial fair play by a few $100 million, their own money. They're not in administration. And
it's not a few $100 million. It's 300 million.
2, 3. Okay, who's counting? It's Premier League. People got money.
But the thing is, like, City got themselves into position to actually kind of cover their losses over time. Where are Everton finding 300 million to cover their losses?
Drew, it's not about whether you can afford it. You got to play by the rules, Drew. There are rules to adhere to. And it should be a more gradual process that you get there pretty quickly. So you got to pay the piper, Drew. Drew, I'll be talking to you. You won't be on this forum anymore because we don't talk to people in the championship. We don't have championship persons on this forum. You have to be in the audience.
Is this the Arsenal plan to win the Premier League? Try and get City kicked out of it?
It's getting a bit hostile.
But it's the only way we're gonna win it if you get kicked out.
Well, no, because you're still going to be behind Spurs this season.
Man City getting playing Salford. Man City getting playing Salford.
It's all right because financial fair play doesn't exist in non-league football, so we'll be fine.
Man City aren't worried because they've got the lawyers that'll have them in court for about 10 years, so nothing's going to happen anytime soon with City.
Wow,
that's probably true, but I think at some point they got to make a decision, right?
We will bankrupt the Premier League before we get relegated, and that's what the Premier League.
Money, Drew. Premier League has a lot of money. I hate to tell you.
I don't think they've got as much as Abu Dhabi.
No, they don't, but they have a lot of money.
But I don't think they got enough to contest this in court.
What could happen, of course, is that Spurs could win the league because City gets lots of big point deduction.
Andy, it's time you wake up. I've been saying good thing about Spurs. No, you have a chance, right?
Can we all disagree? It'd be Brighton. So,
I think we're gonna have our next 6 games are like Chelsea, Wolves away, Villa, Man City away, West Ham and Newcastle. That's our next 6 in the league. That's going to be a tough run for us. So I think, let's see where we are after that. If we're still there, then okay, maybe you can start to dream. But I think, it will start leveling itself out after a period of time, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think Villa, by the way, those who say Emery wasn't a good coach, I think they got to take that back, actually.
I got to be honest, his in-game management is giving a lesson to a current Arsenal manager.
We don't have an in-game manager. We don't have any
You
game
know
manager.
what?
So I'm not sure what
I
you're
think I've got to defend Mikel Arteta on this one because he has made half-time substitutions. Half-time. So
Again.
that what you talk
Tony?
about, the
Tony,
match,
Tony,
you're saying he's
please.
not making in-game decisions, but he's making regular substitutions at earlier points in games than we did see last year.
But he's making, to be fair, last year he didn't get much wrong. But this year he's making really bad, in my opinion, bad calls on select starting 11s, and then some of the substitutions he's making, I don't understand.
Andy, you can't make bad decisions if you haven't lost a game all season.
Well, yeah, you can.
No, we lost a game. We lost a game in the Premier League. In the Premier League.
Have we lost the game?
Yes.
Not in the Premier League. Not in the Premier League.
This is the Premier League show. Remember that, Bertram.
Okay, yeah.
Premier League show. We have got no losses, and
But you're still third.
We're joint second in the table. And the team
let me say this to people.
I like this because it's like you were saying you were joint top with Spurs. You're not. You're second. You're not joint top. You're second. Now you're third. You're not second. You're not joint second. You're third.
Can I just say this? I think there's this concept because we're part of the Invincibles where we talk about I haven't lost a game all season, but the more draws you have, you drop 2 points. 2 draws is worse than 1 loss.
So the Invincibles weren't a great team then because they had a bag load of.
They had 12 draws. People question that they had 12 draws. But that was then. This is now. So with Man City around, you can't afford to draw games, 2 games. Based
on that thesis that you've just said, sir, the Arsenal team of last year is better than the Invincibles.
Arsenal team of last year. No, they're different eras. Different eras.
Okay. On what basis, Tony? What basis is that? Would they be better?
We didn't have as many draws as the.
Yeah, but you've got less points.
And we had more losses, actually. Much more losses.
Yeah. Well, of course, we have losses, but I'm just saying,
Tony, question for you, Tony. How many losses does City have? How many losses does City have? Man City, how many losses do they have?
2.
How many do we have?
None.
What's standing in the table, Tony?
I get you're saying, yeah.
Defense rest.
One comparison I would use. So anyone remember the 2008-2009 title race between Liverpool and Man United? Liverpool lost 1 game all season. Man United lost 6 but won the Premier League. So just think like that. A draw is basically as bad as a loss if you don't take advantage of the opportunities you get to win.
Yeah, now the City and Arsenal's part of the table tells the story. They have 2 losses, we have none, and yet we're behind. Yeah. And we both played the same number of games, and we are behind them on goal difference. So yeah, But anyway, we haven't lost a game, Tony. You're right, and we can beat our chest. We haven't lost a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we didn't play well against Spurs. Didn't play well against Chelsea. Wasn't great against Fulham.
We've beat Man City in amongst that.
Yeah, that's a big win for you. That was a big win.
That's a huge win. That's a huge win.
But we lost twice to Spurs last season, and that didn't help them.
That's a good point.
That's every season.
So we kind of
they feel sorry for Tottenham. They give them 2 games.
Man City.
What I'm hoping is that you do the double over us, but we win the league. That'll do.
I'll take that as long as it's not another team from the northwest.
Excellent.
I will say though.
Let's move on.
Go ahead, Tony.
So where was we? We were reviewing that set of fixtures.
No, that's 3 weeks ago, Tony.
No, I'm just getting through them. We went through that one. We went through that one. We had got to.
We just did Liverpool, didn't we?
No, we did. We did Liverpool. Bournemouth, Wolves.
That's last week, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's last week.
Brentford 3-0. Kind of expected as that was hurtful for you, Drew. Man City 2-1. Good result there against. Kind of got away with that one, didn't you, Drew?
What?
But they were good in the first half.
Brighton could have
And
got.
Brighton was making all the mistakes at the back. And as the game progressed, Brighton got into the game.
I mean, we're going to focus on I got away with one when Arsenal should have lost to Chelsea.
We can get
point.
you, Drew. You're jumping ahead, Drew. You're jumping ahead.
Okay. Newcastle 4, Crystal Palace 0. Newcastle are obviously a very good team in form at the moment. Got
Isaac's just got injured though last night, didn't he?
Yeah.
On Wednesday night.
He's out for a good few weeks now. Luckily, we played him in that period that he's out. So,
but Jason's out for us, Tony. So I'm not sure how lucky we are.
They've got a few players now out for the
Tonali.
next few weeks.
Tonali's out. Tonali's out for the season.
He's out
Nottingham
indefinitely.
Forest.
Well, 10 months.
Nottingham Forest 2, Luton 2. Battle of the relegation fodder. Chelsea 2, Arsenal 2. Now, apparently we got away with this one.
Well, you did. After 75 minutes, they were 2-0 up and in complete and utter control, and you couldn't see any way back for Arsenal at that point until Sanchez gives you a goal, and then all of a sudden you get a draw out of it, and actually could have nicked it right at the end. So, you know.
Here's the funny thing about that game, for
said what I
example.
was going to say, Andy.
Yeah.
Here's what's so funny about the game. Palmer should have put away. Raya passed the ball to Palmer. He didn't put it away. Then Sterling put in Jackson. I have no idea what Jackson was doing.
Jackson is not a striker, and I don't get why he's playing as a striker. I don't get how he's in a Premier League team.
To be honest,
he works hard.
So I looked at Jackson in pre-season. Looked a decent player.
Yeah.
So I can understand why you would start him. Obviously, coming from a foreign league and trying to hit the ground running in the Premier League is never easy.
No.
But I did see in pre-season he showed some form that made me feel.
He did look good in pre-season. Yeah. He looked better than Mudryk. Even though Mudryk scored. Mudryk did nothing in the game. Mudryk has been a waste today. Yeah. I know Chelsea keeps trying to justify £80 million, but he's been poor. He was poor against them. He just scored a lucky goal.
Great goal, though. Great goal from Mudryk.
No, come on. When he hit it, we were all like...
What, sorry?
Sorry.
Either great or lucky. One of the two.
It was a terrible cross.
I think he meant it. I think he meant it. I think he meant it.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on it because I think, if it's a shank, then you know what? I've done that. I've done that in a game, and I will claim that every day. I did one for RRs in a game from near halfway line.
I've never seen you score, Tone. When did you score?
I have actually scored some
you wake up soon. Andy, you wake up soon, Andy. You wake up soon.
The difference, Andy, is obviously you were playing first team, I was playing reserves. But I actually scored one very similar to that. That was a peach of a goal, and it was meant to be a cross, but
right.
But you're not comparing yourself to Mudryk, surely.
Well, the thing is,
he probably was better.
Everybody can score every kind of goal.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
If I try it long enough, I can score a 60-yard overhead kick. If I try it long enough.
No, see, when I first saw it, in real time, I thought he meant that as a cross. He didn't, and that because it kind of looked really weird. But I just think Raya gets totally out of position. I don't know what Raya was doing, standing where he was standing. But also, if you look at Mudryk, I think he gives him the eyes. I think he goes to make it look like he's going to cross, but sees him off his line and does it. I think he does it deliberately.
No, he done that sharp. You know that sharp intake of breath you get from a plumber before they give you a quote to fix your bathroom. He done that after he hit it. There was a. It's gonna come. Oh! I mean, there is no way he meant that in a million years.
I think he looked up, saw Sterling at the far post, was trying to reach Sterling, and ended with the back of the net. That's what I thought when I saw that. He did look, Andy. I agree. I think he's looked at Sterling, not necessarily, because Sterling was at the far post, not necessarily the goal. And as you said, Raya's aggressive on the crosses. That's why he's so good at crosses. But you get burned on those things sometimes. He's very aggressive on crosses, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, Apollo's in the chat. He said, great win for Andy. 5 points clear and being chased. Richard 7. Good evening, Richard. Thanks for joining us. I can't say I've seen you in the chat previously, but we're obviously very pleased that you're here. An interesting listen. How possible is it that Haaland and Man City simply aren't as hungry as last season? Also, do you feel that Arteta isn't shown as much love / slack as Wenger? So let's get the first part of that question out to Drew, who it's aimed at. Drew, what's your thoughts on the sort of effects of last season possibly playing effects on this season for yourselves?
We haven't reached Christmas yet. We don't beat you until after Christmas.
It's a fair comment.
It's the thing with Guardiola teams. First half of the season, that's just about being in position. Second half of the season is about winning things.
I wonder if Guardiola's main objective this season is to retain the Champions League, and whether he also believes that City might get a points deduction, which will stop them winning the title as well. That he may be more concentrated on winning the Champions League again than he is on winning the Premier League again. I'm not saying he's not going to try. Because Man City.
Just imagine we get the heaviest points deduction in history, deducted 100 points, instant relegation down to the Championship, but we retain the Champions League.
Yeah, it would be quite funny.
I mean, it would be slightly brilliant, slightly amusing, but we're not getting a decision on that this year anyway.
You won't get a 12-point deduction, but yeah, I mean, you won't get a sort of 100-point deduction. What I mean is, but you could get a 21-point deduction or something like that. That could happen.
We'd still be in the Champions League places. There's 5 this season.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Bertram, let's move on to the second portion of that question, which is, do you feel that Arteta isn't given as much love as Wenger?
Can I just answer that first before you Arsenal fans go? I would say that's possibly true, but Wenger won the double in his first season, didn't he? So I think Wenger instantly got himself, the Arsenal fans are in love with him. And it wasn't just, he didn't just come in and win the double. He came in and did it in style, playing brilliant football with fantastic players, and so, much as it hurts me as a Spurs fan to say it, that Arsenal team was great to watch.
I mean, Wenger was kind of like the midpoint between the Cruyff style of total football and what Guardiola does now. So it was a thing of beauty watching Arsenal in '98 when they won the league. They were brilliant.
The thing about the Arsenal then was that when Wenger got appointed, everyone was going like, Arsene who? But I knew who he was because when Hoddle left Spurs, Hoddle went to Monaco, and Wenger was Hoddle's manager at Monaco, and Hoddle was singing his praises about how brilliant this guy Arsene Wenger was. So I picked up on that because Hoddle was my idol growing up, and so when he came, I thought, I think Arsenal getting this top guy. You didn't know how he was going to do in the Premier League, but he was fantastic, and Wenger was brilliant, but he lost his way, but Arsenal fans kept thinking he'd get it back, but Arteta hasn't. He had a chance. He should have won. Quite frankly, should have won the league last year from the position that they were in, and he blew it.
But let's be honest.
In the season.
Let's be honest. I mean, you've got a very divided fan base over Mikel Arteta. I mean, there are those who think, he has earned the opportunity and he's shown sufficient guile to be able to be given more time and to be given the opportunity to trust the process. Based on he came in his first season and won the FA Cup, beat Man City in the semi-final, beat Chelsea in the final. So let's not. I mean, it's not a double,
but he hasn't won anything since.
Hang on. But there was literally 2.5 seasons ago, mate.
3.5 years he's been there.
Okay, But
Nearly 4, I think now.
no, he's not nowhere near 4 years.
Yeah, he is. He came in late
No, he's
2019. Late
He
2019.
No,
Because when
Yeah.
did you win the FA Cup?
It was
When did you win the FA
pre-COVID.
Cup? It was late 2019. It's 4 years he's been there now.
he's not been there 4 years.
Go and look it up.
It
We're
was
in
pre-COVID.
2023, Andy. We're not in 2024. We're in 2023.
Yeah, I know we're in 2023. So he's been there 4 years. Late 2019.
All right, somebody look it up for me.
He was there just before COVID.
So anyway, my point is,
Andy's right, Andy, because what did he finish? He finished 8th. He finished what, 5th, and he finished 2nd, right? And
So this is his
before
fourth
those
season.
the last 2 years, he blew it down the stretch. He choked twice down the stretch. Not debatable. Got destroyed by Spurs when he played holding, because he can't defend himself, right? And Spurs nipped us for 4th when we had 4th in the bag. It was more easier to get 4th than to lose 4th. And last year, we collapsed down the stretch. In managing. Now, having said that, yes, he brought us up. We were challenged. But here's another thing. He's the best back manager in Arsenal history by a country mile. Wenger was not backed at all. We spent hundreds of millions of dollars on Arteta. We allowed him to clean our players without trying to get any recoupment of fees on those players. Just get rid of them, no matter who they are. Tony, you can shake your head. No, Tony, don't. No, this is my time. I sat back and let you talk.
I cannot agree
These are
with
facts.
you. I
These are
cannot
facts.
agree with. No, okay. So let's talk about backing. Yeah. So quite simply, yeah, Arsene Wenger inherited the greatest back four the country has ever seen. Yeah. George Graham's back four was the best back four, bar none, as far as I'm concerned.
I can think of another 90s back four. It might question that, quite honestly.
You could think of another that might question it, but let's be honest, it's a neck and neck battle between us and that other team. Yeah. But nobody else has got a back four like Arsenal's back four when Arsene Wenger comes in. Then he gets exactly who he wants when he wants. For the next 8 years.
Wenger, the money spent on Arteta is no way.
It's not about the money spent.
Wait.
It's not.
Money.
Let me
Why City
explain
win the
to
league?
you.
City spent money.
Hang on. Time out. Let me
Go
land.
ahead.
Let me land. It's not about the amount of money that he's getting access to. It's the players he's getting access to. Because let's be honest, the value of players in 1996, 97 was so much different. The record spend on a player was probably about 30 million.
So can I jump in?
We didn't even think that a player could possibly leave a club for 100 million.
But Tony,
the money financially. Hang on. Let me explain what I'm talking about. When Arsene Wenger came to Arsenal, and he said to the board, "I need Patrick Vieira, I need Emmanuel Petit, I need Nicolas Anelka, I need Mark Overmars, Bergkamp." The board went, "Okay, compare those 5 players that I named."
Yeah, but to be fair, that's a great choice. That's a great choice of players, isn't it?
Hang on, let me land.
Well, wasn't Vieira under $1 million as well?
Compare
They're
those
not
5
cheap, by the
players.
way. Overmars was the most expensive, I think, of all of them. Cheap. Go ahead. Cheap for the times and cheap now.
So let me land. So those 5 players that the board went, "Okay, we're getting them." Compare them to 5 players that Arteta's had, and Arteta's deeply not been has been restricted because he has never had 5 players like that.
Hang on.
Tell me when you're done, Tony, so I can chip in. Tell me when you're done, I can chip in.
What players has Arteta identified that are even in Vieira's, ballpark?
There you go.
No. Let's talk about value for money.
Petit, Vieira and Petit
was
were
value for
probably
money.
the best midfield.
Value for money. Bergkamp value for money.
Yeah.
Havertz is not value for money. Let them keep going. Anyway,
Well, can we just point out that...
Wait. Mudryk, who we changed, was not value for money. Luckily, he went to Chelsea. We can talk about these things. The point I'm saying is that he's the best manager in Arsenal history.
Could I just point out the Spurs have bought Maddison, Bentancur, Pape Matar, and Basuma for the same amount of money as you spent on Declan Rice.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, no,
You win the league with
one
that,
thing I
Andy.
look at though. So
And by the way,
Right.
because Pape Matar hasn't had anywhere near as much credit as he should have had this season, because all the
No.
plaudits are going to Maddison and Bissouma, but Sarr has been sensational this season.
I
Anyway,
like him last year,
moving on.
actually. He just wasn't getting time under Conte. I watched him a few times get subs appearance last year. I thought he was decent.
He has been brilliant this season. He really has.
So let me finish
Anyway,
the point
carry on.
about Arteta, because I'm just finishing the point about Arteta. We take long enough. Couple of things. Look, Arteta knows talent. That's not debatable. He knows no talent. But he actually is, you know, the student in the school where you sit in the front row and they're looking for you to put your book up so you can copy. He copies Pep all the time. That's what he does. He hasn't achieved anything to have the stubbornness that he exudes. That's why people sometimes are frustrated with him. Very stubborn, think he knows it all, lies like no, not economic truth. He lies vehement. He lies really badly. Lies. No, not economic truth. No political statement. He lies. And you know what? I agree with what's his name from AFTV. He lies. Doesn't go look when he talks about things. Oh, Ramsdale has to compete with Raya. In what world? What world are they competing? In some dream world? They're not competing. He gave Raya the job. He would say things, and he would say things you just sit here thinking, you think we are all idiots? I understand you're going to manage the communication with the general public, but don't lie. We don't want you to lie to us because we know better. He's smart. We're not debating smartness. His game management is awful. It's getting better this year because he has no choice but to make changes when he needs to make changes because we're just not functioning. And you know when it started hit me? The first game against Man U last year, when he put on like 6 forwards when we were down 2-1, and I'm sitting there thinking, really? And it got worse after that throughout the season.
All I can say is,
which is change people.
all I can say to you, Bertram, is this is the guy who said Ten Hag was a genius because he outdid Pep Guardiola with his box and one, and he should be our manager. And I'm going to say,
never say he should be our manager.
No, sir.
Stop. Never would say that. I said in the game against Man City, he put Fred and De Bruyne, marked him out the game, and what we do? We play attacking, pressing football against Man City. De Bruyne and Haaland isolated on holding, and they destroyed us, and Arteta couldn't see that. Blind as a bat. When Ten Hag did put Fred on De Bruyne, brought him out the game, and Man U won the game. Man U should be playing Man City with Man City. It's a fact, Tony. De Bruyne and killed us. And you know what I said? Wait. I'm talking to Tony, Andy, and Drew. You know what De Bruyne said? Yeah, we know their press was great. This was strategy we employ. We put myself beside Haaland. We played over the top and beat the first press. We isolated defenders. My manager couldn't see that. Even when it happened 1, 2, 3, 4 times, couldn't see that. So that's my frustration, Tony, which is adaptability, innovation, ingenuity are things which my manager sometimes does exhibit, which he needs to.
All right.
Is he smart? Yes.
All right.
Is he doing well for Arsenal? My last point, Tony. He's been backed by 400-something million pounds.
It doesn't. The money doesn't matter.
Well, it does, Tony. Come on.
Hang on. As a City supporter, that offends me slightly because everyone always says that, we're here because of this money. Then if you've spent the amount of money that Arsenal have spent, you should be winning a cup every season.
Yeah, but what Bertram fails to realise is 400 million in today's market is not big money. Nottingham Forest have spent.
Well, no, it is, Tony.
Yeah.
Brighton have spent big money. Loads of teams have spent. How much money have Spurs spent in the last 5 years? Is it
5?
I don't know, but Tony, we spent 200 million this year, Tony.
Hang on. Is it much short of 400 million?
No, it's probably up there.
Thank you.
But most of that has been in the last 2 seasons.
He said 5 years. We spent 200 million this season, Andy. 200 million. Rice 100 plus, average 60, Timber 40, about 40, 200 million.
Fine. All right.
You've spent about 600-700 million in the last 5 years.
This season, I'm saying we spent 200 million. Okay. After coming second last season. So we should have improved significantly this season, spending 200 million.
I'm pretty sure if you do a comparison on many state potatoes.
Take that show, moderator. Take back your show.
Right. Let's move on.
Bertram just comes in and just takes over, man.
He does, doesn't he?
I'm done. I'm not saying another
tried
word.
to
I'm going to
control
listen.
it, but-
No, it's fine.
Someone
It's
mute,
fine.
see?
I miss your input, Bertram. It's great to have you back.
Right. Tottenham 2, Fulham 0. That was a result from last Monday. Interesting that you played Monday and then you played Friday.
Yeah.
The day before, Villa smacked West Ham. So that was the good Villa. They looked really good in that game as well.
They're
What do you
going to
guys think
do
about
this
Holly
to a lot of
Watkins? Holly
teams.
Watkins? What's the thoughts on Holly Watkins?
What?
Holly Watkins.
Watkins is like I've forgotten his name. Callum Wilson. He's a very good player. He's not quite international class, but he fits the system that his team plays. So, in that respect, he's perfect for Villa. But they've got players like Leon Bailey who are just starting to actually show why they were brought in the first place now.
What I'm interested to know is, what does it say about Steven Gerrard that Emery's basically working with roughly the same players and getting a tune out of them that Gerrard couldn't do anything with?
That Gerrard was destined to manage at the top level in Saudi Arabia for the rest of his career.
With 600 fans. You see, they had 690 fans last week.
I
690.
think with Gerrard, his ego got in the way.
They don't have
more
to worry about that, though, do they, Andy? I mean, let's be honest. You know, the
No, but it's just nonsense, isn't it? They have more fans in an 8th tier of English football, like a Northern Premier League match.
Yeah. Hey, look, you know, they're building something out there. Good luck to them. You know.
Whoa. When Man City spend money, there's no good luck wished. When Saudi Arabia spends money, we're going to back it, are we? This is double standard. Typical Arsenal fans.
Spending money. You spent Saudi money, mate. What are you talking about?
Whoa.
Abu Dhabi
money. They're not one the same.
Our money is different. I mean, it's still petrodollars.
It's money. It's still oil money. It's oil money. It's not different.
It's got a different shape. It's got a different shape on the currency.
They're both strong currencies. Both strong currencies.
Listen, we oppress our citizens a little bit less, all right? That's what the difference is.
All right. Let's move on before we go somewhere we shouldn't do. Right. So I'm going to look at the table now as it stands. This is live for you, Andy. 5 points clear. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll ask you guys now. How do you see this table changing over the next 6 months? I'll start with you, Bertram.
I don't see the top 4 changing. I think Villa and Newcastle will give us a run for our money. I think Chelsea will come up actually if they can get a center forward, but I don't see the top 4 change. They may change positions, but I think that's the top 4 for me. I think Villa will probably be challenged with the top 4 when they play them, but they're playing brilliant football. I do think they have some defensive vulnerability with Torres and others, and I think when they have really good forward and wingers pressing them, they may be challenged defensively. But the midfield playing well. Holly Watkins, I think, is better than Drew is probably seeing because his link-up play is really, really good, especially with Diaby. I think Liverpool has a lot of firepower, but defensively they're challenged. I think we're just out of sync. I think when De Bruyne come back, Man City will be good. And I think Tottenham, if they get injuries, will be challenged. If they don't, they'll be in the running.
Andy, what's your feelings about this current setup?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've managed to get a new manager's come in and he's put a sort of clean sweep through the old guard, and he's got everyone with a smile on their face again. So we're playing well, and we're doing what Arsenal did last year, although Arsenal kept it going for a lot longer than we have so far. But we're taking advantage of a good feeling within the camp. Got a young team that are playing, with a smile on their face, and they're enjoying their football. And we've got a strong backbone there with Romero and Van der Ven and Basuma and Maddison and Sonny up front. And Vicario's done brilliantly in goal. We've got a strong backbone. So, but realistically, I don't think we'll be there at the end of the season, just like I didn't think Arsenal would see it out last season. But the longer we can stay there, the more interested it will be. But yeah, I mean, I think the four that are top four now, I believe will be the top four at the end of the season, albeit potentially in a different order. But I suspect that we will be the top four. But I also saw with Chelsea against Arsenal last week, I saw a big improvement in Chelsea's performance. And like Bertram says, the only thing they really lack now is a centre forward that can put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. If they've got the money to go and get one in January, then they could get interesting. But I think they're probably a bit too far behind.
Nkunku's back training now, so he's probably not that far. I mean, certainly I would imagine by Christmas Nkunku will be back, and he's a lethal striker.
Yeah, but I think they probably want an out-and-out centre forward. I'm not sure
Nkunku's probably more 10 of a 9, right? He's more 10.
Yeah,
I think he's more 9 than 10, to be honest, Bertram. I mean, personally, looking at what he achieved last year in Germany, I think he's more of a 9.
But he started at midfield, you know. He started at midfield. Remember we looked at him way back when, Tony?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. What do you think of the order of the teams below fourth, Andy? How do you see that?
Well, again, I mean, I see basically the top 10 are the top 10 that you would predict. Maybe not in the order that they're in, but the top 10 are there as you would expect them to be. As I say, I believe Chelsea will improve and I think they'll move up. Villa, Newcastle, Brighton. I think Newcastle will probably finish top of that sort of trio. But I think that Chelsea might make a late run and nick 5th spot, possibly. Man United have got a few issues, I think. There seems to be,
so?
Yeah. I mean, there's
that's obvious.
But the thing that's saving United is that they're not drawing games. Although they've lost 4, they've won 5, and that's keeping them in touch. But if they start drawing a few, then they're going to fall away pretty quickly. But they've got problems there, I think, at the moment. So I don't see them challenging the top 4 at present. But yeah, it'd be interesting. But there's some good teams there. The league is a lot stronger now than it was before.
Yeah. Drew, what's your feelings on that top half of the table?
So the top 7 will all be in the top 8. The team that will come into it will be Chelsea, and United will drop down out of the top 8.
Wow.
The order which they finish in, that's more difficult. I think Liverpool are in a slightly false position in 4th at the moment. I think Villa have been better. I think Brighton should have taken points off of Liverpool as well. And Newcastle, they played a whole of last season, got into the top 4 without Sandro Tonali. So, if Newcastle cope without him this season, can Newcastle overtake Liverpool as well? Potentially. But, yeah, I don't see United finishing in that top 8, though. I can see Chelsea getting in there. I can see Chelsea getting as high as 5th.
Wow.
But with a Champions League place being up for grabs, it's going to be an incredible second half of the season when we get there. But I still see City coming out on top. But it's going to be
Chelsea are going to have. The problem Chelsea are going to have if they do qualify for Europe is that the rules are different in Europe regarding the financial fair play as it is in the Premier League. So whereas Chelsea can get away with their spending and the Premier League rules, they can't get away with it under European rules. So they would struggle, I think. They'd have to bring in hundreds of millions to be able to compete in Europe next season, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Gentlemen, I've got a lot of comments that I just want to read out very quickly. Thanks for that review. Richard7 is very active in our chat this evening. He says Ollie Watkins is pushing for a Euro 24 spot. He saw Spurs and Douglas Luiz have made my fantasy Premier League team tidy. Winks. Forgive Stan for his exuberance. Oftentimes he's had to scratch and fight for airspace with a notorious speaking Jamaican rival.
That's true.
And the last comment is Postecoglou from Celtic and that Scottish League has generally surprised. What would Kane be thinking? De Zerbi wowed last year. Not sure if Spurs hold out for the entire season for a top 4 spot. Interesting. Yeah, some good points there, Richard.
By the way, Andy, you lose Sarr and Bissouma
Bissouma.
in January. Don't
we
you?
know we know that January is going to be a big problem for us because we lose Son to the Asian Cup and we lose Bissouma and Sarr to the AFCON. So I mean that's going to be.
Though Bentancur was on the bench tonight.
Well, he came on for the last few minutes.
Oh, did he play?
And he came on the last few minutes. So he got a rapturous applause. And after the game, all the players jumped on him in the corner. Probably injured him again, actually. But yeah, the fans were going mad to have him back.
Darren Anderton, he's okay.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, it was great to have him back because he's a massive player. So when you look at the bench tonight, I mean, we had Bentancur on the bench, we had Højbjerg on the bench, we had Skip on the bench, we had Brian Hill on the bench, we had Brennan Johnson came off the bench and set up Son for what turned out to be the winning goal. You know, our bench is a lot stronger than it was before. Now we're starting to get some players back. So I still think we're 1 or 2 short, or 2 or 3 short of what we need if we're going to be serious title contenders. But if we can get to January and still be there, then, you know, if he makes the right kind of additions, then it could be interesting. I don't know who's in the front running for Ivan Toney at the moment. I know Arsenal are in there, Chelsea are in there, Spurs I know what are interested, but it's gone a bit quiet on Spurs. So I've got a feeling that Toney might have maybe hinted that he wants to go somewhere else. So
yeah, he did an interview with Diary of a CEO on YouTube where he actually indicated that Arsenal would be his preferred choice.
Yeah, no, I got that impression. So I think Spurs have sort of started to back off because they don't want to be seen to be in a race and he chooses Arsenal. So I think Spurs have sort of backed away from the Toney deal.
I'll be honest, I think it's a bit of a gamble for Arsenal. Oh, come on. Come on. Why can't I make a terrible dad joke about Ivan Toney?
Oh, dear.
Drew.
My kids would have been laughing at that.
Yeah. Is that Apollo?
No, that's 18. So he's one of our regular.
I think if Spurs, it's all about injuries for Spurs to me. It's all about injuries.
Yeah, it is.
It's all about injuries.
If we get lucky like Leicester, if we get lucky like Leicester did with injuries, you know, in Leicester in 2016, then you know we could be in with a shout. But I suspect that when it, like Arsenal found when they got to March, April last year, and you've got City breathing down your neck, I suspect that Spurs might start to struggle. And if you look at Spurs' running, Spurs have got like Liverpool, Chelsea, City and Newcastle back to back in April or something. So it's going to be like that. That'll be, if Spurs are still around then, that's going to be a real tough period for us.
Question from Richard again. Very good question, in fact. How fair is it to suggest that there's a current trend towards keeping managers on? Is patience and time returning to the directors' tables?
I'm not sure that is true. I mean, is that true?
It is with the bigger clubs at the moment, but little clubs. Well, sorry, not little clubs, smaller clubs, the ones that have the smaller budgets. They seem to pull the trigger a lot faster than what they have done in past years.
They're in relegation zone. Of course, they'll pull the trigger.
You got.
I know, but if you're Sheffield United though, and you pulled the trigger, you're still going to be shit tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean,
you're just going to be shit with a different manager. You've got
You've got Spurs. Spurs have changed their manager.
By now.
No, but Andy, that's not a good example, Andy. He changed
Spurs
himself.
Okay,
He
but
changed
Spurs.
himself.
What I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, if you look at it, Spurs have a new manager this season. Chelsea have a new manager this season. Aston Villa changed their manager midway through last season. United, Ten Hag's been there 2 years now. The beginning of last season, year and a half.
Year and a half. Yeah.
So I mean, I would say there's still quite a lot of managerial changes. De Zerbi came in for Potter last season at Brighton. So I mean, there's quite a lot of managerial changes.
The top 3 of the top 4 haven't changed.
Yeah, Arsenal, Liverpool, and City haven't changed.
Yeah.
But the rest,
I think
pretty much have.
The one that's really baffling still, it's how Bournemouth got rid of O'Neill after keeping him up last year. I'm never going to understand that. And now he seems to have massively improved Wolverhampton. So,
Yeah.
whereas Bournemouth are still that lower end, probably going to finish 16th at best kind of team.
Big up to
I think sometimes
in the house.
we don't know what's happening in the boardroom sometimes, but sometimes people just don't get along.
Yeah.
You see with Tuchel and no owners get along. Yes, probably Bayern. So sometimes we don't know behind the scenes. We don't know what's happening because it didn't make sense. I agree, Drew. The Bournemouth situation did make sense, frankly.
Mm.
So
I've got a lot of time for Gary O'Neill. I think he's quite a smart manager, but I think he was trying to push. He was trying to push the board to give him more. I think, and they didn't want to go overboard.
I feel with him. He's a manager like Mark Hughes in a lot of aspects. He gets all right jobs, but he's not ever going to be fashionable. He's never going to get the best job.
But this is what we used to say about the guy who's at Newcastle, whose name I forget now.
Eddie
Howe.
Yeah. We used to say the same thing, that he's going to be that guy who's going to float around but never going to get the big job. And now all of a sudden he looks like he's mustard.
But let's be honest.
Eddie Howe was underrated. I mean, if you bring Bournemouth,
he was always linked with the Arsenal job, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
But let's be honest though. If Ancelotti or one of the big fashion managers came up, would Newcastle maybe consider it? And I think they would. I think they would.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think they would.
I think he's doing a good job where you probably wouldn't.
It'd be hard to change it and justify him.
I think he's doing an absolutely brilliant job, and he hasn't brought in that many players really. And the players he's brought in, they've not been. It is like when Mansour took over at City. They haven't spent the money on the best players yet.
Yeah,
they've spent money on strengthening.
I think there was a clear strategy of the way that they brought players in, because what they did was they didn't go out overseas and go and buy a load of foreign players. They went and bought good players who were performing in the Premier League, knew it, were very good at what they did in the Premier League to secure what they had. And then they started to bring in now other players who can add the qualities that they needed. But they weren't buying players from overseas. They were using the local market of players who knew the Premier League.
Yeah, the Dan Burns and players like that.
They've spent money. Botman, Guimaraes, Isak, Tonali, they spent some money. It may not appear that way compared to others.
Tonali's the most expensive of those signings, though, and he's now out for 8-9 months.
How much is Isak? Is Isak about 62? Somewhere around there?
No, thank you, Victor.
I think Isak was 40 million. I remember Isak was an absolute bargain of a player.
Guimaraes is a bargain. We should have bought Guimaraes, actually.
Yeah.
Guimaraes is the one for me. I think
Guimaraes is a bargain.
Guimaraes
anyway,
we should have bought,
actually.
Another very quick question. Very good question again from Richard. It's a terrific Premier League, but he wants to know quickly, what do we think of England's chances in Euro 24 with the likes of Foden, James, Saka, Trippier, Stones, Jude, Rice, Maddison, Shaw, Maguire, etc.
Kane.
I think Harry Kane will still kick the ball over the White Hart Lane from the Middle East, so I think he's going to be challenged.
I don't think we can win.
I can't get Robbie saying he kicked it to White Hart. I can't get Robbie when he missed the penalty against France saying he's kicked the ball to White Hart Lane.
to me, I think we've got a great team. You know, there seems to be a good camaraderie around the England team when they get together. But I still think just player for player, France have got better players. I think Spain are definitely getting up there again in terms of becoming, you know, a very big force in this in world football.
Germany's the dark horse, as always.
Yeah.
I don't think
they're going to be
Germany
staying
right
dark.
now
They're going to
got
stay
a lot
dark.
to write home about. I really
Yeah.
don't. I think they've
They
had
don't. No.
they've had a
Oh,
spike and now
don't
they
say
want it down
things like
again.
that. Don't say
They're gonna
things
stay
like
dark.
that.
They're going to stay dark. No,
Every
I think England stayed dark.
every
They sent up the
time,
defense. Tony, go ahead, Drew.
every time we look at Germany and go, do you know what? They're not up to much. Bang. That's what
They're
happens.
not winning anything, Drew. Come on, Drew.
Come on.
You've seen
Right,
them play.
My people are worried about Germany rising again, all right? So I don't want them to do well. But I'm
going
just
to
saying,
Germany next
every
week.
time we
I
write them
can't-
off, that's
I'm
when
gonna
Germany
hide my
come in.
face. I'm going to Germany on Friday. Oh dear.
Now,
Right,
talk
let's
about
move
Spain.
on.
I think
Yeah.
what a lot of the other nations have got a problem with is a central striker. I think Germany lack a top class central striker. I think Spain lack a top class central striker. I'm not saying they haven't got players that can do a job, but I don't think a lot of the countries apart from France with Mbappe and England with Kane have got top class centre forwards.
Mbappe doesn't play through the middle for France. The best centre forward in the Euros. Oh wait, yeah, he won't be going to the Euros. There's only one European team with a genuinely
going.
top
Haaland's
quality
not going.
centre forward. So,
He's not going.
and Norway won't be playing in the Euros.
France hasn't needed a centre forward for years. They had our ex playing centre forward, Giroud. You don't need a centre forward.
You think they won in '98 with Thierry Henry playing out wide on the right, and was it Papan and Dugarry switching between the centre forward role? Oh, and Yuri Djorkaeff. France have always had this way of playing. They don't need the target.
Right, gents, let's wrap it up because we've been nearly to 2 hours. So just quickly going to bring up a couple of quick screenshots for us to just comment on very quickly. No more than 15, 20 seconds, please. This kid, Ryan Gravenbach, I like this kid. I watched him and I'm like, wow, where have Liverpool pulled this one from? Bertram.
He's a very good player.
Bertram?
He's a good player, but why did Bayern let him go? I don't understand.
Yeah. Let's move on this one. We've mentioned this already. Isak is out. Mo Salah, congratulations. Now the highest goal scorer in European football.
What this year?
No, in all time, innit? In Champions League.
You mean for Liverpool?
Yeah, for Liverpool, yeah.
Must be for Liverpool.
Yeah. It's
Maybe when you have
interesting.
Rahul and all those people. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because considering that he's been targeted by the Saudis, he's done really well. Ansu Fati seems like he's on goal scoring form for Brighton. And how the hell did Brighton get Ansu Fati?
That is the best piece of loan business.
Well, they got him on loan, didn't they? They've got him on loan.
The best bit is that
get all these young, brilliant players.
They're only paying 20% of his wages as well.
Wow.
So Barcelona are still on the hook for 300,000 a week for him. That's brilliant.
Anyone know about this story with Zaniolo?
Yeah, Zaniolo's part of the whole Tonali investigation thing, and they're saying that he might be up for the next one for a ban.
Cool.
Well, Bailey will get more game time, so I'm not complaining. Bailey will get more game time. So
this is a big story. Leo Messi for Ballon d'Or. Can it be?
Haaland should win it.
I do think Haaland should win it, but it's like, how do you begrudge a man who has literally won everything and then goes and wins the World Cup? How can you begrudge him? But then you look at the figures and it's like, he didn't have the best season.
No.
That's like saying, how you begrudge City winning all these Premier League. What is Drew talking about? You should begrudge him. Don't give him the Ballon d'Or because he won.
All
these
right,
things.
I
That's why he shouldn't get it. He's won
I
enough.
do begrudge him. I mean, he's got enough of them. We
Yes.
generally do regard him as the best footballer that's ever lived. Only real comparison is Pele, because Ronaldo can go and screw himself. Quite frankly, he's not in the same class as those players.
Maradona, by the way, is in the class. Maradona.
I mean, Maradona's the third best player of all time.
Debatable, but keep going.
Then
With nobody playing with him.
Ferran Puskas, I'd even put him ahead of Cristiano.
Oh,
Ronaldo.
okay. Now we have to stop. Cut.
I mean, if we get a healthy Ryan Babel one day, he could have been.
Right, gentlemen. Our predictions are now loaded. I will bring up where we stand in terms of positioning in the predictions league. As at the end of last week, there are 1, 2, 3 players who are top of the league, which is Apollo, myself, and Dave on 57 points. So,
and I'm one behind.
And you're one behind, Andy. So yeah, it's been interesting watching this unfold. I'm quite. I was quite proud of myself for a while, but you know, I knew it wasn't going to last.
It's pretty close though.
Yeah,
I'm just
Dave
happy
did
about
brilliantly
it.
last week. Dave got 9 out of 10 last week. He should get a special mention.
Yeah. Right, so gents, I'm going to call it a day there. Normally we would sit down and we'd go through this whole set of fixtures, but as we actually have already put our predictions in, I'm going to close it off early because we have been on here for quite a while. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much to everyone in the chat who has been contributing. Thank you again very much for joining us this evening. Don't forget to hit the like button as you go out, and we will see you again hopefully next Friday. Take care, boys.
Cheers, everyone.
Ciao, guys.
See you later.